Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com, this is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
I'd like to ask everybody what their opinion is of Jagmeet Singh and what he is doing. Never asked this question before. Not only is Singh and his party propping up the Trudeau government, come hell or high water, and God knows we've had plenty of both, he now says, unbelievably, he will continue to prop up the Liberal government, keep them in power, even if a judge finds that the Emergency Measures Act was invoked illegally. I don't know about you, but I find this totally reprehensible. This defies democracy. This is not, John, what we voted for. From evidence so far, it's pretty obvious there was absolutely no justification, legal or otherwise, to invoke the Emergency Measures Act, which removed all of our civil rights. If, in fact, the judge rules that the act was imposed without legal cause, it will mean, in effect, that the government broke the law. If this happens, as it likely will, only Jagmeet Singh can keep the government of Justin Trudeau in power for another almost 3 years, which means we will be governed by a group of people who removed all of your civil rights without legal justification and lied about it. The law states very clearly that the Emergency Measures Act can only be enforced when there is a real threat to national security, a risk of government being overthrown violently, and only after other legal measures have been exhausted in an effort to remedy the situation. Folks, I mean, very clearly, there was no threat to national security. Not a single weapon was ever found. And it's very clear that not only did existing legal measures to remove the convoy fail, they weren't really tried. I mean, you would be hard-pressed to tell me what legal measure was taken to remove the trucks. So what do you think of a man and his party that will continue to keep a government like this in power? I must tell you that, I mean, this is not the democratic system. Listen, we did not vote for a majority government. We voted for a minority government, which means we, the people, we, the voters, said we do not want Trudeau to be in a situation where he can rule no matter what. We want the opposition parties to be there with sufficient power to throw the government out of power if it misbehaves. That's what we voted for. We voted for democracy. Had we voted for a majority government, we wouldn't be talking about this today. He would not need Jagmeet Singh. But this is not what we voted for. We voted for a minority government with the opposition parties there to keep the government's feet to the fire and, if necessary, throw them out. And if you're not going to throw out a government which breaks the law, a major law, removes all of our civil rights with no justification. If we can't do that, then it's not democracy. I'm going to tell you, in some countries, this would be cause for a revolution. People would be marching in the streets. Now, I may be a little early here. It could be that the judge, who after all is a liberal as well, will rule that there was justification. But I'm going to tell you, if he rules that, there'll be an uproar like you can't believe, because very clearly there was no justification. No real attempt was ever made to remove them, and there was no threat to national security, no weapons. So, but the fact that, I mean, Jagmeet Singh must sense which way the judge is going to rule, because he's already stated, Yes, no matter what the judge says, even if the judge says that this act was imposed illegally, I will continue to support the government. Folks, what and you know what really, John, what really bothers me, one of the things I don't understand. It would seem to me that there are some good, honest people in that party, people with a conscience. Look, uh, those people know that this is wrong. I don't understand how they continue to support someone they know is wrong, is doing something they should not be, is thwarting democracy. And you said this at the outset, John. On top of everything else, this is not what the NDP was formed for. I mean, I can remember
No.
days when the NDP was, was a party of the little guy. There was no question about it. Brought in healthcare, etc. Really cared about the little guy. I mean, it's very clear that Jagmeet Singh and the NDP couldn't give a flying fart about the little people, the so-called working class people. The party is now a party of elites, essentially. You know,
Well, they're liberal
you,
light. They're liberal too.
yeah, but I go back to the fact that we voted for a minority government. As a
Mhm.
matter of fact, on the popular vote, as you know, the conservatives outpolled the liberals.
Yes.
So from a popular vote, actually, the conservatives received more votes than did the liberals. But despite this, we and not but we did, at least we voted minority, which meant, as I said before, means that the opposition parties would have the power to throw the government out if it breaks the law or does something wrong. But Jagmeet says doesn't matter. In other words, what Jagmeet Singh is saying, we don't care what this government does. If this government wants to go out and rape and pillage and set fire to every building, and we'll support them. I'm exaggerating, of course,
Right.
but essentially that's what he's saying. You break the law, damn it, you break the law. I don't get it. I don't understand how people of conscience can support this. John, what are people saying?
Yeah, I don't get it either. And what I can't figure out is what. I mean, okay, Jagmeet has some sort of power, but does he really? He's not calling the shots here. He's a yes man to Justin Trudeau. He doesn't really have any power. That party has no power. What is the benefit to the Liberals other than okay, they're pushing through to try and get free dental care for Canadians? Beyond that, what's the win for the NDP?
Well, the win is that they get to keep their paychecks for the next 3 years. I mean, that's it. They realize that in all probability, if they bring the government down, that the NDP probably will
All
be
right.
pretty well wiped from power. So this is their very callous attempt to stay in power, to keep the paychecks coming in. That's what it is. There are probably some members, I haven't done the math, who need another 2 or 3 years there in order to obtain their full pension.
There we go. All right.
That could very well be what it is. But I just you would think when people aspire to power and decide to run, that they're doing so out of principle, that they really, really want to help. They really feel that they can bring something to the country, to the city, to the neighborhood that's beneficial. But then to stand by and allow, in this case, our civil rights to be removed with no justification
And be okay with it.
and be okay with that and support that is beyond me. I guess John, I guess I'm just too old to understand the
Um,
modern thinking. I just don't and the fact is that there's still lots of Canadians out there prepared to put up with this as well. It's sad. Sad.
well, are they prepared to put up with it? Or again, goes back to my question, are they just not paying attention and just not really aware that their rights were even taken away? Like, unless your bank account was, like, your personal bank account was affected, are you even aware that, because we didn't have tanks in the streets, it wasn't like the FLQ crisis. It wasn't like that. So unless
It's
it
pretty
happened
hard
to you
not to be
personally,
aware now. I mean, it's been
well,
so widely covered that you have to be pretty well aware. And I have talked with people who wanted them gone, and I wanted them gone myself, and so did you, and many others. And in other words, did not support the convoy, but still will say, listen, this imposition of the Emergency Measures Act was wrong. I mean, people of conscience with any intelligence whatsoever realize this was wrong. This and one thing I don't think really has sunk in, and we've talked about this before, is how draconian this was. Very few democracies in the world would be able to remove all of its citizens' civil rights without some sort of protest. But that's what happened. When the act was imposed, do you realize, folks? No, I know that it didn't happen, but police had the power to go into your home without a warrant, make
Exactly.
arrests with no
Exactly.
charges or anything else. Just say this is national security, and we heard a rumor somehow or other that you were in. Who the hell knows? I mean, they did freeze bank accounts of people who made small donations. So, but they removed your folks. You had no civil rights. We have been fighting for civil rights for thousands of years, since the days of the Magna Carta. We tried to get power, total power away from kings, and then we tried to get total power away from the popes, and then we tried to get total power away from the dictators, and then we tried to get equality for blacks, for people of color. Then we tried to get equality for women. We tried to get equality for people of different religions. This has been an ongoing battle, and it's a battle that continues. But in one fell swoop, this government removed all of those rights. By the way, you women, you didn't have a legal right to an abortion. See, your civil rights were gone.
We didn't have the right to vote.
Didn't have the right to vote. That's right.
Everything was suspended. Imagine if this had happened in the States. You know how they are about, like even amending the amendments in their constitution, and suddenly all of their rights taken away, and the government can walk into your house, take your firearms, the government, on and on and on and on. I mean, we would never be hearing the end of that. And in Canada,
You realize that we removed rights of Aboriginal people as well. You Aboriginal people, natives, you had no rights. Okay,
Yep.
the rights, you women, all the rights that we have fought for so long, gone. They were gone, removed by this government that Jagmeet Singh is prepared to continue to prop up. John, what are people saying here?
Yes. You did ask me for listener comments, and then I started opining. And
That's so
over
fine.
to you, the good listener. By the way, your comments welcome on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, and 613-413-2217 is the number. We'll begin with YouTube. And Mim says, how can the PM still be in power after such mismanagement of our country and temporary removing of all our basic rights? Emergency Act, ? Nobody gets punished for this. How is this possible?
Well, it's possible because of Jagmeet Singh and the NDP. That's how it's possible. I'm going to tell you right now, if Jagmeet Singh is not supporting this government, it's voted out tomorrow. Well, yeah, tomorrow. It would be gone. The government would be gone, and we would go to an election.
Or would they be? Because it would require the votes of the Conservative Party and the NDP, would it not?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But if the NDP says it's not going to support anymore, then very clearly, the government would be overthrown. You don't think every single Conservative would vote them out?
But the question mark is the NDP, even if they weren't aligned, right?
Some might.
A small question mark.
I suspect most people would vote them out. Go ahead.
Over to Joshua on Facebook. He says, the NDP since its founding has never been in power. Clearly, Singh believes the best he can do is ride the coattails of power. Governments are supposed to uphold democracy, not impede it.
Well, actually, the NDP has been in power. The NDP, those of you will remember, I'm sure, the terrible times when the NDP was in power in Ontario. The NDP has been in power in BC. You're right, it has not been in power federally. But in essence, right now, it is in power. I know, John, you seem to disagree with this, but in fact, Jagmeet Singh has the power to keep this government alive for the next 3 years.
Well, I guess that's true. Yeah. If he doesn't
has
get
the
what he
power.
wants, he can pull the plug on that. You're right. He does have that power. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Kathy on Facebook, Trudeau has stacked the deck in his favor at all levels of government. David says free dental care is not free for all Canadians. Keith is on Facebook. Singh already knows that if there were a federal election held today, his party would be toast. How can he say that things would be different when he supports everything Trudeau is doing?
Well, that's a very good point. I'm on top of everything else. The NDP stands in the House and pretends to be critical, highly critical of the government, etc.
Drives me nuts.
But then when the chips are down, they continue to vote them to keep them in power. The NDP tomorrow could defeat the government. Simple. If they stop supporting them, the government is finished. We go to an election. Simple as that. Something that's not so simple is up there in Pakenham.
Oh, here we go.
Now, Pakenham for a lot of people it's got a great golf course there. A lot of people go up to ski. I go up to get my pigeon feed and straw and so forth. And a lot of people go to Pakenham for their appliances and for the butcher shop. We've got a lovely little butcher shop. And now Shields, of course, been appointed as an official Sony dealer. Folks, if you're looking to save some money, if you want really, really, really good service, you cannot beat Shields. That I can grant you. It may be that you can see some comparative prices, but in many cases, I keep checking. In many cases, Shields will match or beat some of the other prices that you pay. Don't forget, it's an in-stock dealership, which means they've got all of the appliances in stock, ready for delivery to you. Give them a chance. Shields.ca. Go ahead, John.
If I'm not mistaken, there's a wonderful ice cream shop right at the
Yes,
end of
there
that
is.
bridge, too.
Yes, there is.
All right.
Yep.
Let's get back to my comments. Where are they? Here we go. Kathy says, there are many Canadians who still believe that Trudeau is doing a good job. No matter what he does, they stand behind him. It is total insanity, in her words.
Yeah, but that is true very clearly. But the fact is that more people voted Conservative in the last election. We voted for a minority government. We did not want Trudeau to have a majority government. We wanted the opposition parties to have power to throw them out. And Jagmeet Singh is thwarting the wishes of the electorate. The electorate said, listen, if this government is caught in malfeasance, breaking the law or whatever, we want to give the opposition parties the right to throw it out. Well, Jagmeet Singh says, no, I'm not going to exercise that. Go ahead, John.
All right, so the question on the screen to the listener and viewer is: Jagmeet Singh will continue to support the Liberals even if the Emergency Measures Act is found to be illegal. Your thoughts, please. Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Laurentian View Terry is on Twitch. He says, lots of politicians start off with good intentions, but soon get caught up in the web of greed once they learn the ropes. Damn shame, he says. Let's go to email. Gilles, thank you for emailing. Lowell at blasttheradio.com. I think he believes this is the nearest he will ever get to influencing power. Under his leadership, the NDP have become irrelevant and will probably be its last leader. Ooh, that's quite the prediction. Let's go to some of the earlier comments. Richard says, a leader that is missing in action, what a total disappointment. Jagmeet Hypocrite Singh is a comment on Twitch.
Very true. What a hypocrite. What a hypocrite. What a disappointment. When excuse me, when he was first elected, I had high hopes. Here's a different kind of a guy. Seemed to be. He seemed to have some principles. He certainly talked the talk, but when it comes time to walk, he's not walking. Go ahead, John.
613-413-2217. We invite your calls. You can text the show as well. Again, 613-413-2217. Mahadi says, Jagmeet Singh is not in charge of our country. He is not a leader. Either is Justin Trudeau.
All right. Well, the fact of the matter is he is in charge of the country. He's deciding to keep the government which in effect gives him the power to run the country. He's the NDP and Jagmeet Singh are keeping this government alive. You may not want it. May not like it, but that's what's happening here. Go ahead, John.
Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. Keep posting your comments. Let me see. Richard says, I thought when the law is broken, repercussions occur regardless of who the hell you are, parliament or no parliament.
Well, I mean, there's not much question that the Liberals, Trudeau in particular, has broken the law several times before. And it seems to me there's no doubt that he will have been found to have broken the law again with this. But this is the most serious of all, to remove all of our civil rights that we have fought so hard for. Mankind has fought so hard for these civil rights, and we continue. A lot of people forget that. This has been a struggle for over 1,000 years for us as individuals to have rights. That's what the great struggle for mankind has been, to have rights. There are many countries where individuals, the citizens, have no rights whatsoever.
Yep.
Think North Korea, think Cuba. Venezuela is very much like that. But we are supposed to have the civil rights in this country. Well, we didn't have them for a while. Go ahead.
Let's go to this is an interesting question. So, if an individual breaks the law, they have no rights. They are taken away. So, or an organization. Why not a government? Would they not lose all rights? Why do they get to retain those?
Well, that's a very good question. It's I really don't have the answer. I've never seen this before. I've never seen a government so blatantly breaking the law. I don't have the answer to that. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's complete. It's a license, isn't it, to be criminal? I mean, there are no repercussions whatsoever. It's astounding.
There could be repercussions. We voted so that there would be
Well,
repercussions, but Jagmeet Singh defies that. What we voted for was the power of the opposition parties to throw the government out if we got caught, if we catch them lying or breaking the law. But now we can't do that because of Jagmeet Singh.
Comments are coming in faster now. Thank you, folks. You're helping me out a lot here. Carrie says Jagmeet knows how to keep their paychecks. He is what Trudeau needs to stay in power. So yes, Jagmeet is in essence the one in power.
Yeah,
yep,
very true.
You're right. You're right, Carrie. I wasn't looking deep enough. Joshua says, regardless of one's political beliefs, Jagmeet had the potential to be the embodiment of the Canadian dream, a man of different cultures showing all the opportunities this country has to offer. Shame he has seemingly squandered all of that.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. People of different nationalities, different customs, have been gradually rising to power in this country. Good for this country. But I just wonder when you have someone who's performing like Jagmeet Singh, if I just wonder if this doesn't put a damper on some of that. Go ahead.
Kathy says, with Jagmeet and Trudeau in power, in 3 years, there won't be a Canada left. Canadians will be poverty-stricken. Our country is in so much debt with absolutely no return.
Well, as I pointed out, I guess on Friday, in a little less than 3 years' time, 50% of your heating bill will be taxes. By the way, a lot of people don't seem to care about that, but let me point something else out, that today, 50% of the cost of a bottle of beer is tax. How does that grab you out there, folks? 50% of the cost of beer is tax. And I'm going to tell you something else, all you women. About 70% of the cost of wine is tax. How do you like that?
Why is it just women drinking wine, Lowell?
Well, because women don't traditionally. Okay. I know.
I don't mind the occasional glass of wine. I have to tell you, I think it made me feel like I missed a memo somewhere.
If you really want to catch men's attention, you just talk about beer. If you want to catch women's attention, you talk about wine. But I'm telling you right now,
that's fair.
That
I get it.
50% of the cost of beer today is tax. About 70% of the cost of wine is tax, and it's going up. Go ahead.
So I had this thought when you brought up your gas bill last week, and people just pay the bill without even thinking. Again, it's people not really paying attention and thinking. Do you think a lot of Canadians are just in this mindset that no, we only pay like 13% HST. The tax is only 13%. 13%. They haven't bought in or paid close enough attention to what's actually on their bill to realize.
The big tax now is the carbon tax. On my bill, the carbon tax was $78 and something, and the GST was $58 and something. The carbon tax, and don't forget that within the next few years, he is going to triple the carbon tax. So this is why I'm saying in something less than 3 years, 50%, if he keeps increasing the carbon tax, almost 50% of the cost of heating your home will be tax.
Because I'm just rolling in dough, and I could just keep, supporting the government. All right,
Diane.
Wait,
can I tell you something?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's got to stop someplace.
Yeah.
Someday we're going to wake up and find out that every damn single cent that we earn is gone for tax.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I've got nothing left to give.
But at that point, will people's attention be grabbed? The problem is that even if they do tax like that, a lot of people, including a lot of public servants, that it won't matter anyway because their salaries. But if we're I'm
no, I know. For the average person, it really, really hurts.
There's
for a government employee. Yeah.
Got to be a limit. I mean, 50-70% of our income going for tax and various items. Craziness. Go ahead. And by the way, I made a mistake the other day. I don't shop for food, but I said that food is not taxed. But actually, a lot of the food that you buy is taxed.
Yes, it is.
the processed foods are taxed, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, when you buy fast food, McDonald's, that's all
Yeah.
taxed, all taxed. So a lot of the food that we are eating today is taxed as well.
Yeah, it's the basics that are not taxed, right? Like your milk and your juice and your fruits, vegetables.
You don't think, but yeah, well, not taxed at the GST,
not at the store level.
The tax is applied long before that.
Of course.
And one of the reasons that bread has increased the most, apparently, in the last year, is because of what's happening on the wheat fields. And I talked about this almost a year ago. I pointed out that the carbon tax to dry the grain in some cases is $4,000 or $5,000 a month. The carbon tax alone for the propane to dry the grain. And I remember saying this about a year ago. Folks, you're going to see the increase in the price of pastas, in the price of bread, cakes, etc. Anything that uses flour. Farmers can't pay out $4,000 or $5,000 in carbon tax and pass that. They've got to pass that cost along to you. And now it's happening.
Just how business works. All right, Ann says, Jagmeet Singh continually shows himself more and more to be completely lacking in ethics. The conditions were not met to justify imposing the Emergencies Act. You can't simply justify it by saying the truck drivers needed to go. That is not a valid reason for freezing bank accounts, and a very dangerous precedent has been set.
Yes, that's true. The precedent is very scary. This government did it once. They get away with it. Why not do it again? Go ahead.
Joshua says the NDP since its founding have never been in power. Clearly Singh believes the best he can do. Nope, that's already been read. I apologize there. I got too many things on the go. Good thing I don't like beer, says Kathy. Murray suggests you make your own beer, your own wine, and your own spirits.
It's taxed too.
Is it really?
Well, sure, the stuff that you buy is all taxed.
I suppose. Mahadi is shocked that we have not touched on the municipal election happening today, Lowell.
Well, you're not supposed to, when you're in broadcasting, you're not supposed to on the day of the election.
There you
go. Now, I don't have those rules, but I still have I was in broadcasting so long that
the principles of it, I agree with you with.
The principle is there. So I am just doing what I think is right and not raising this issue. Okay.
Yep.
You know what? If you haven't made up your mind by now, you're not likely going to anyway.
Right. The only thing I would say to that, please vote.
Yeah.
Please
vote. Absolutely.
Carl says, brew your own beer and wine, no tax on the ingredients, because they are considered food products. Grape juice, have a beer on Sing.
All of the equipment, though, that you need is all taxed.
Yeah. Yeah, once you buy the equipment, you might as well have bought a case of beer. You'd be ahead of the game. But the majority of voters are unions, public servants, and people in major metro cities, and many of them are liberal, out of touch with common sense, and don't care about those who are affected. Great show, says Terry. Please go out and vote. Our city depends on you to do that. Fertilizer prices are soaring, says Murray. Homemade beer has no tax. It's considered food. Yes, Ray, but as we just addressed, and I know that you're coming in sort of late, it's the stuff for it. Here's a text from Alberta. Chicken feed is getting hard to get. Okay.
Well, I mean, this government attacked the energy industry, virtually destroyed it. This government now is attacking agriculture, attacking farmers. And I don't know if you notice or not, the next target is the forestry industry. They've destroyed the energy industry. They're attacking and trying to destroy agriculture. And now they're after the forestry industry. What's going to be left by the time this government is finished? I don't know. John, we're almost out of time here.
We are at a time, Lowell. This is a good place to leave things. Again, we encourage people to get out and vote, and I think people must be, because it was a little on the quiet side today, but tomorrow's another day, right?
Tomorrow is another day. Well, my wife's making me a lovely roast beef sandwich, and then we're going out to vote, the two of us. You know, by the way, several years ago when Peyton, our grandson, was, I think, 8 or 9 years old, we made a point of taking him out with us to vote. We wanted to show him the democratic process. And that's not a bad idea. You've got some youngsters. I know they're probably in school, but if there's any way you could take your children or grandchildren to show them the democratic process, I think it's not a bad idea. Thank you all, folks. Vote. For God's sake, vote. We'll be back.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green Podcast. This is a production of BlastTheRadio.com.